What is up, people? Most of you know I don't like to do camera reviews. I don't really do them on this channel, although I actually did do a video about the FX9. But when someone calls you up and they have an 8K camera, that's a mirrorless camera that shoots 8K RAW, then they say, hey, do you want to shoot on it? You say yes, because I've actually never shot that resolution. So we're gonna go try out the new Canon R5 and see what the hype is all about. Let's find this guy. All right, I see him. He's over here. And he brought a friend. What's up?
You're a Sony user. You can't. I'm just kidding.
What
Good
do you
to
got
see
there?
you. It's been a little while.
I see you admiring my COVID flow.
COVID locks.
Yes.
I think that's what those are called.
What's going on? Hey, we got this guy here too. Package.
He's the editor I fired. And he had a glorious YouTube career out of it.
This guy in like 2 weeks has pretty much the same amount of subscribers that I do in like 2 years. Well done, well done.
One of my first professional gigs was editing your footage for a charity.
What was your verdict on that footage?
It was pretty good. I mean, back in the day, it was all slow-mo.
How's the footage? It was good, it was good. I just did a video saying why you shouldn't shoot slow-mo. But obviously I've learned, I've grown.
10 years ago.
Yeah, 10 years ago. You gotta start somewhere. Let's do this. Okay, how's the exposure on me there?
Oh, you don't have a flip LCD?
Yeah. So me and Maddie are gonna quickly both do the same shot of Matt here on the A7 III.
What do you want, like 8K, 4K, 120? What do you need? What do you need? I got it all.
I got, we'll have to cap out where I stop, which is 4K. Little just anyone know, I actually just shoot everything HD.
Yes.
And then I up-res it. But I'll probably actually just shoot this HD.
That's
but
the secret to every YouTuber right there.
we're gonna switch cameras back and forth. They won't know which shot is which, but you guys gotta guess quickly here and comment below. Mati?
Can you even see anything? It's
man.
really
Well,
dark.
I'm literally at 10,000 ISO. Thank you. Elbows. Thank you. I'm gonna go now look at this R5 footage for the first time.
Send it to you and it's gonna be like 1,000,000 gigabytes of footage.
Gosh.
So.
Oh yeah, the 8K thing. When I was first filming it, I was like one small step from Mark Bone and one giant leap in my hard drive bills. Anyways, let's go look at this footage.
Enjoy it.
So let's talk about the R5. And just before I get into that, I wanted to mention my last video, I spoke about the Art of Documentary, our documentary course that we're releasing this month. And since we released that video, which was just a couple days ago, we've had over 2,000 signups for the early bird waitlist. So you want to make sure you get on that early bird waitlist. We're only going to be able to allow a limited amount of students into this course because we're going to be doing group coaching calls and we want to give people the proper attention through this course. But run over to there, you can watch the trailer right now, theartofdocumentary.com. I won't say anything more because let's get back into talking about the R5. And I want to say too, this review won't necessarily be the most technical review. It's gonna more so be about whether I would actually use the camera on set, because I find some reviews that get so technical and so caught up in the specs that I forget if they're actually gonna ever be using this to film just an actual film or real life or not just a test. So let's talk about what I like about this camera. So number one, and this is the thing I always say is the most important part of a camera when you're buying it, dynamic range. And I must say, when I was looking at the raw files coming off of the R5 in post-production, man, they are beautiful and the dynamic range is incredible. It really surprised me. I think it actually really blew my A7 III out of the water. I don't know how many stops Canon is saying. I actually always ignore that. People always want to get excited about what the camera manufacturers say about how many stops of latitude the camera has. And for those of you who don't know what latitude is essentially the difference between the lowest level, the darkness, the shadows, 0 IRE, all the way up to the highest level of exposure in your image, the bright areas. So that's dynamic range, is the total difference between your shadows and your highlights. You guys can comment down below if you know how many stops it is. But again, I don't listen to what the camera manufacturers say about stops of latitude. I just want to know, what does it actually look like when I use it in real life? And the R5 was very impressive. Number 2 thing that I liked about this camera is its autofocus. Again, I'm shooting this right now with the Sony a7 III, and I gotta say, the R5's autofocus felt way better than my Sony camera. It was like so dark out, and I was following Matty around, and it just tracked his eye with the littlest amount of light on his face. I was very, very impressed. The autofocus on this blew me away. Now, the number 3 thing that I really liked about this camera, and you may laugh, is the menu systems. I actually really found them simple. It's been a while since I used a Canon mirrorless camera, and I found the menu systems on this very easy to use. The Sony menu systems I'm very used to, so I understand how to navigate them right now, but I always feel like I'm talking to a scientist and not a cinematographer when I'm going through Sony menu systems. And I'm sure you felt the same way, where Canons are a little more easier to navigate. They use language that seems a bit more obvious. Number 4 thing that I really liked about this camera was its IBIS for photography. There was one point where Matti shot like a 10-second photo, and he was freaking out because it was so sharp. It's like
5-second shutters handheld.
But the city's still like perfectly.
City is still like, it's a tiny bit softer now, but it's still sharp.
5 seconds handheld.
That's crazy. That's insane.
Even at 10 seconds, like literally the camera was exposing for 10 seconds and he was handheld crouched down, and it was completely sharp. Blew me away. Now, the things I don't like about this camera, and you have to understand, I'm talking about this from a cinematography perspective. I think a lot of photographers won't care about these things I'm about to talk about. But the number 1 thing I really don't like about this camera is the codec. It was such a mess just trying to get this footage into Adobe Premiere. You have to download a beta software, and that beta software crashes sometimes, and you have to take it to Final Cut. And I'm not a Final Cut user, so it was just difficult working with this footage, and it made my laptop want to explode. And I have like the most beefed out Apple laptop that you can get, and even then, the 8K footage, unusable because it's just such a heavy, intense codec. So I don't know, you have these beautiful 4K images, you have these beautiful 8K images, but you can barely work with them in post-production unless you transcode them down to something like a proxy file, something more usable. So for me, I just want my footage to work. I love the FX9 for that reason. I can take it off and work with it right away. Even in 4K on my laptop, I can throw a ton of filters and color correction and it still works. The codec works great. That to me makes the camera a bit iffy if I would actually purchase it, because I want to know that I can use the footage right away. And that brings me to my number 2 point, which is that the camera overheats a lot. The way I kind of see it is that the camera is this like crazy beast. It has this 8K raw footage, but it's compacted into this little body. It's almost like the internal components of this camera are too advanced for where we are right now. The heat sink and everything part of that camera can't keep up with the amount of processing power. So my first time using it, I didn't actually get to use this camera because Matty passed it to me and the camera was already overheating. I had to wait like 10 minutes just to be able to hit record again. I just broke the camera.
You broke it,
I broke it. I tried to record
like
and,
and
it stopped working.
Power.
Now that said, that's when we were shooting like 4K 120 or 8K 24 frames. So normally I would just be shooting 4K 24 if I was shooting a documentary. So it would make the camera a lot more usable, but it's difficult to justify going up to 4K 120 frames if you know it's gonna overheat within 10 minutes. And the last thing, and everyone spoke about this, but the IBIS at 8K was kind of a trip, watching everything wobble. Then again, I don't love IBIS. I don't necessarily use it all the time. I'm more used to just myself using like a FX9 handheld, no stabilization whatsoever. But the IBIS just kind of fell apart at 8K. And again, I think that's because this camera is mainly a stills camera. It has this really, really insanely powerful sensor that has been shooting some video on the side almost. This is an incredible stills camera. I don't know if I would use it as a video camera. It's an insanely powerful camera, But again, because it's so powerful, it almost makes some aspects, some features of the camera, 8K, 4K 120, a bit unusable. You have to transcode, you have to go through extra steps. So would I buy this camera? Man, if I was a photographer, absolutely. It's an insanely powerful camera. It gives you everything you need. For video, you know, if I didn't need it for slow motion, yeah, I would definitely consider it because man, the latitude is impressive on this. The dynamic range is really impressive. And like I've said, there's gonna be one factor that matters for you when you're buying a camera. It's dynamic range. Don't worry about all the other stuff. It's the final image that you really should be concerned about, not all these other features. Like I shoot on this and I don't even have a flip LCD. I have to just go back and review it, but it doesn't really bother me because I really love the images off the Sony cameras. So there you go, that's my R5 review. Thank you guys for watching this, appreciate your time. Just a quick reminder again, make sure to go sign up to the Art of Documentary if you haven't had the opportunity. It's our documentary course, but I will see you guys on the next one.